Hi, welcome to 101 Dog Solutions. Hi, today's video is on jumping up. So there's two different approaches based on the dog's age. So I'll cover pups first and then adult dogs. As I said, there's a difference in approach. So with pups, as you're possibly aware, with their behavior, it's more about distraction at this point. Once they get beyond sort of 6-7 months, then you can start to use a little bit more of an air of asking them to do more rather than trying to encourage them to do the right thing in a different way with a gentler approach. With regards to pups, the first thing you need is a distraction toy. So anything that causes interest and brings interest for your dog, so play with that. See what distracts your dog and gets their attention the best. So just as an example here, I'm using a little honking pig, and my dog Nacho used to use these as a pup, and I would use distractions with him using either this or a little honking duck, but whatever works for your pup. So the main thing to be aware of is your body position, and this is an element that applies to both a pup and an adult dog. The important factor to do whenever your pup jumps up is not to back away. If you back away from a dog's perspective, one, it's a sign of weakness. So backing away is a sign that you're uncomfortable with that action. And two, it's also an invitation to come forward. It's a double whammy, a double negative from your perspective. So the adjustment is to simply hold your ground. If your dog is jumping up quite regularly and you've got an easy opportunity to practice, you just picking up a toy gets your dog to react and to jump up. If they need a little element of encouragement, in this moment, you're actually wanting them to jump up. So if you know you talking sort of more excited, etc., and through experience, you know what gets that kind of reaction in them. Initially, we want them to do that in order for us to change the behavior. Okay, so this is a little bit of looking at your own individual situation. If they're jumping up all the time, then you don't need to do much. If they do need encouragement to jump up in this moment, like I say, you want them to jump up, whatever you do that causes them to jump up, and then you've got that opportunity to practice when you've got the time to deal with it. We're going to assume your dog is jumping up. The first thing you do, even at this point, is to disagree with it. Just a simple hey, no, or Remember not to use their name. You want their name associated with positive behaviors, not negative ones. So just use hey, no, or short and sharp, hey, no, Soon as they touch any part of your body with the jumping, disagree with it, then that's where your distraction toy comes into play. In that moment, you're then distracting them away from you so that draws their attention away. So they're jumping up at you. So already this one gets Nacho's attention. So you distract them away from you. Once they then get interest and sort of locked onto that toy, their focus is then on the toy, not you. What some people do is, and again in lots of behaviors, they rush the activity and their timing is off. So remember, timing is key, and you can reward the wrong behavior if you're giving the reward or the distraction, in this instance, too early. So I'll just elaborate on that a little bit. You squeak the toy, get their attention, and then you're looking to reward a better behavior. So if they're then jumping at you again for the toy, disagree with it, wait till the dog sits down, is nice and well behaved, they're kind of sat there quiet, looking cute, not barking or making any demands, they're just sat down nice and quiet, get some eye contact, and once you've got all of that, then you reward them with the toy. Don't make the mistake of squeak, 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 they're jumping at you, squeak, 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 and then throw the toy, because you've basically then just rewarded them for jumping up at you. Your timing is key. Be patient, don't rush it, squeak, distract, get the focus and the attention on the toy, wait till they're sat down, calm, relaxed, quiet, giving you eye contact, and then they get rewarded with that. And remember, you're changing habits. So the habit is, and this is across the board with lots of their behaviors, you're rewarding your dog for being calm, relaxed, and focused on you in anything and everything you do. And you're therefore setting good habits where the dog sees, well, when I jump at you or I bark and demand and maybe nip at you or pull at your trousers or your feet or something, it gets them nothing. But when they're calm, relaxed, quiet, and focused on you, they get everything. So they follow patterns. If they then, through your consistency, they're just going to just learn that when I make demands, bark, bite, pull, nip, I get nothing, but I get everything for being calm, relaxed, and focused on you. They're very tactical as well. So they'll go, well, what's the point? I get nothing when I make demands. I get everything when I'm calm and relaxed. So therefore you then change the behavior. With adult dogs, it's slightly different. You can apply all of the same. You can try that as an adult dog, use distractions and focus on that element in the same way as a pup, but you've also got another potential remedy in your locker. And that second method is try your distraction first. If you're finding that that behavior's not working in the same way as maybe when they were a pup, and maybe you didn't achieve it whilst they were a pup and it's still been an ongoing problem, you can therefore then apply a second technique. So the same principle applies. Don't back away. Hold your ground. If your dog jumps up at you, again, disagree with it. Hey, no, Stiffen up your posture. Head up, shoulders back, so you're presenting in your body language, I'm serious about this, you're doing something I don't want you to do, and I don't want you to continue it. If they sort of continue to keep jumping up and the distraction isn't working, then it's plan B. And this is what you do as a result if, sort of plan A is not working. So they've jumped up at you, and what you can do then is disagree with it the first time. If they then continue to jump up, then what you do is you take it to the next level, and that's when you can then start to utilize a correction. So a correction is something that dogs do naturally amongst themselves, and you can observe it in parks, in fields, beach, wherever you might go where there's multiple dogs interacting, and you might see it if you're in a multi-dog household. If a dog is pestering another dog into, trying to get them to play, etc., and they don't want to, or they're saying you're jumping all over me and I don't like it, they will touch them to, one, break their focus of the jumping to get their attention, and then they'll present in their tone in terms of maybe a low-level growl or a bark to say don't continue that behavior. We replicate that by our tone, disagreeing with it, short and sharp, hey, no, stiffen up your posture, and then you can utilize a correction which breaks that focus of them just incessantly jumping at you to get their attention to disagree with it. The correction, like I say, is something that dogs do naturally. If a dog, say, jumping all over them and they're trying to break that focus to get their attention, to correct it and to get them to be a lot calmer, they will touch them either with their nose, with their open mouth, and just almost like mouthing. And you may have seen that in at some aspects of puppyhood as well. It's not actually clamping on and biting and breaking the skin, it's just a touch. So they may touch with their nose or an open mouth, again like a tap on the shoulder, just to break the focus and get their attention. And they'll either touch in the side of the neck or in that soft tissue in the stomach area between the ribs and the back leg. As a preference of the two, you can utilize either, but my first choice is to touch between the ribs and the back leg in that stomach area. And the reason for that is if your dog isn't used to this and it's the first time you're trying to utilize a correction, when you touch there and correct, a dog can kind of react back and go, well, you're correcting me. No, I'm not accepting that. I'm going to correct you back and say, I'm not accepting your correction. So you can get stuck in that, you correct me, I correct you. And they can whip around and maybe correct you back or catch you, etc. on your skin. So I would always look to touch in that area between the ribs and the back leg, that soft tissue. And this is the technique to use. You utilize your hand, you bend your fingers. If your fingers are straight and you touch, again, you can, sort of hurt your own fingers. So you bend your fingers so that any pressure is absorbed into your hand, not straight direct into your fingers. So you bend your hands and then it all comes from the wrist and it's just a flick. So you're flexing from your elbow and you're taking your hand with your knuckles facing your body, coming into your chest, and then it's a flick and back away. If you flick and leave your hand there, again, the dog can flip around and touch and correct you back. So you correct, bring your hand away, then go back into your stiff upright posture. And it's all flexing from the elbow and then a flick of the wrist, flick and back away. You're not following through like on a punch or anything else like that. You're not harming the dog. Look at it just as an equivalent to a tap on the shoulder just to get attention. But it's something that the dog understands because they do this amongst themselves. So they've jumped up at you, you've disagreed with it, hey, no, or ah. You then, if they're still jumping up at you, you then go into your correction, correct, posture up, and then you go into the next part. So the next part, if you correct and get their attention and think that's enough, you've got their attention, but then there's not a lesson coming next. You need the next part. So what the next part is, it's called walking down. So it's what you're looking to do in that moment is herd the dog into a corner. What might happen the first few times you do this is you correct and then you start to move in the dog's direction and they bolt. They might sort of run off into another room, they might go under a table, behind a sofa, etc., and look to avoid you and go sort of running off. When you're moving after them, you are calm and assertive. You're not sort of trying to trap them. You're not running after them. You're not jerky in your movement. And the way I always try to express this and give people a way to relate to it, most people, or a lot of people, have seen the film Terminator. The Terminator just keeps coming. They're relentless. They're emotionless. There's guns, bombs, flamethrowers coming at them. They're not fazed by it and they just keep moving. It's a good analogy to use in terms of how to present yourself. So they might be trying to escape you, to run off, and you're not fazed by it. They might try hiding behind a chair, they might go under the table, behind a sofa. It doesn't bother you, you just keep coming. All these attempts to distract you are not working. And you're showing clear leadership and you're actually earning their respect by following through. This is like a mental test. They're challenging you, seeing if you're up to that task of being pack leader, and they're going to keep pushing and testing you until they're at a point where you've won kind of almost like that mental battle. So like I say, when you're walking them down, if they're zigzagging around, you're not literally following their every movement, you're just closing a space down. So they go into one area, you close that space down. They go into another area, you're closing that space down, and you're ultimately trying to herd them into a corner. And I'll demonstrate this with Nacho. So I walk into his space until he sits without me asking him to sit. And then all you do is disagree with it. Hey, no, or ah. In this situation, I would say no. So it's a calm but firm no. No, and then you walk away. Just because they sat, it's not a good boy issue. It's say relating that to say a child. So if you have children, you wouldn't say don't play with a football near the windows, and they ignore you, they go and play football near the windows. You wouldn't come out, tell them off, and then when they move away go, well done, here's a packet of crisps. You'd say, don't do that again, and then go back into the house. So it's similar with the dog. It's a discipline issue, not a praise issue. So disagree with it, wait till they sit without you asking them to sit. And again, that's a behavioral issue. When a dog goes into a seated position without you asking them to sit, it shows that they're going into a submissive position, and then they're focused on you, and it's their way of saying, yeah, sorry, I shouldn't have done that. And then it's no, and walk away. If you follow through and they submit to the activity, it may take 2 or 3 attempts, but then you'll notice the difference. If they're jumping up at you and you just say no and walk away, or they scuttle off into another room without you walking them down, you might have stopped it on that occasion, but tomorrow, the next day, the next week, it'll still keep happening. So you've got to walk them down to change the behavior. I hope that was of use. Good luck, and see you in the next video.